5. Drive sober.
This is Rogers TV. The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
It is April 21st, 2020. This is your COVID-19 local update. I'm Deborah Hutchison in the Rogers TV studio. Joining us later on in the show via video is the co-owner of a local brew house that is now producing hand sanitizer. But first, we're joined by registered dietitian Carol Harrison. Carol, as families are being asked to shop less and less, I guess the real challenge is to find healthy food that has a longer shelf life. As well, and you have some ideas for us today.
I do. I've heard in the news that bean sales were up 500 to even 1,000%. And anecdotally, I think we're all seeing that in the stores. They're just flying off the shelves. And I thought, what could I do to help? Maybe I'll offer you a TV segment and share some ideas on what to do with those beans in your pantry. So like you said, you can make fewer trips to the grocery store, make better use of what you have on hand.
Well, as you said, beans, you can do so much with them. I'm more familiar with the beans in the can. Dried beans, they present a challenge all in their own too.
Yeah, but I'd love to show you, how you can use the dried. And if you can make rice, you can cook beans from dried as well. They're so easy. And Ontario actually is a prime bean growing region. We grow loads of beans in southern Ontario, but we export about 80% of them. So it's a great local food, and we could certainly be eating a lot more of this food here at home in the province. Okay, let's start. Step 1. So you did mention canned beans you're very familiar with, and so I've got canned here on set. These are some black beans. Just a reminder, they're ready to go, they're cooked, ready to eat. All you need to do is rinse them. So don't worry. These days, if they've got salt or they don't have salt, if you can find beans, they're always one of the best healthy buys in the grocery store. Rinse them and they're ready to go. So in a colander, and then you can put them in your soups and your salads, wherever you like to use them. If you want to get recipes, you can always go to ontariobeans.on.ca, loads of recipes. So canned is easy, right? The dried, like you said, presents a little bit of a challenge just because I think we're not familiar with it. But once you once you do it once or twice, you got it, you figure it out, and it's easy. So I'm going to walk you through the 3 steps. So easy. But then you can ask me any questions you have. Okay. So you always want to start step number 1 with a quick look at your beans. Any cracked or shriveled ones, toss them. So those get discarded. I've already done that. I've got 1 cup of beans here that goes in the pot. And the ratio is always 3 to 1. So it's a 3 to 1 ratio of water to beans. And I'm sorry, I skipped after I mentioned, after you discard any of the dried or shriveled ones, you want to rinse them. So these have been rinsed. And now I'm going in with 3 cups of water. So that's the 3 to 1 ratio. And you're basically hydrating them because they're dried, right? So you've got a big pot because they're going to swell, and you've got a couple options for soaking now. So the second step, soaking, and you can leave them overnight, or you can even soak them in the morning. Come dinner time, they're ready to cook. That's one method. So a longer, say 8, 10 hour, 12 hour even soak is great. The other thing you can do is a quick soak. So you put them on the stove with the lid on it, bring it to a boil, and then take it off the heat, leave it for an hour. Now they're ready to cook.
That's not that long, Carol.
Well, you still have to cook them, so they've been soaked.
Right.
But it's not a lot of work when you think about it. Even when we're post-COVID, if you got up in the morning, you put 3 cups of water and a cup of beans in a pot and then went off to work and came back for supper, then they're ready to cook. That's very easy to do. And the cooking is just on the stove for about an hour, bring it to a boil, cover, drop it down to a simmer, and when they're fork tender, they're good to go. So now you know.
And is that any type of bean, whether it's red kidney or the white beans? What about the navy beans?
Yes, that's the same thing. It's always that 3 to 1 ratio. So after you've soaked them, you drain them, put them in a pot again with that 3 to 1 water to bean ratio. So if they've swollen up and they're bigger size, you measure them out. If you've got extra beans, more water. Just remember the 3-to-1 ratio. You're good. Even when you're cooking, if you like as well, I've got some onions and some little cloves of garlic and even bay leaves here. These are all things you can add to the water when you're cooking, so you can flavor your beans and it'll get infused with those flavors and just add that much more pizzazz to your bean dish.
So let me ask you, why then do you discard the cracked ones or the shriveled ones? Do they not rehydrate as well as the others?
Yeah, and then, they would cook at different temperatures. The shriveled ones, to be honest with you, they would probably take longer to cook as well. So you might have some ones that are tougher and more starchy, and you really don't want that. And honestly, I find there's not an awful lot that I end up discarding. Like it's just a few here and there. If you've got kids at home, it's a great thing for the kids to do. Give them a bowl of beans and let them pick out all the cracked and shriveled ones.
That sounds like a plan. Okay, so you have your beans. What comes to mind when I think of what can I make with beans? Well, it's always chili.
That's right. And I never tire of chili. I love chili. What's great about it? It's just like a can of this, a can of that. You don't really need a recipe. I mean, if you kind of have the idea, I buy my ground beef, I cook it down. I will add different beans depending on what I have on hand. Again, these are times when we just have to be flexible and adaptable. There's no harm in putting like white kidney, red kidney, pinto beans, even, the black beans. They're all great in the chili. Any kind of veggies you have on hand as well. Put it in the chili, and chili will freeze for a few months. So for any folks that are finding some days you just can't face cooking dinner because you're just overwhelmed by the stress of what's going on, or homeschooling your kids and trying to get some work done, I really encourage people, make an extra batch and freeze it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question here. When we think of beans, there is a product of eating a lot of beans, and that, I guess, would be, I'm going to say it, gas. What do you say to people that are concerned that really don't eat beans on a regular basis but want to give this a try?
Well, it's the thing probably lots of people are wondering about. So let's talk about it. Of course, anytime you increase the fiber in your diet, whether it's from beans or from other foods, you will, not everybody, but some people experience having more gas, which can be uncomfortable as well, to have that bloating. And what usually happens is after, say, 3 to 4 weeks, it settles down once your body gets used to having extra fiber. So just give it a little bit of time, but know that not everybody is going to have extra gas. Some people might not. And I read some literature just before we came on, and there might be differences between certain types of beans. So you can play around with different types of beans if it's a problem for you, and see, are there certain beans that maybe you tolerate a little bit better. But what I would suggest to people is give it a few weeks. And always, when you're increasing fiber in your diet, you want to go kind of like lower and slower. So you don't just start eating 2 cups of beans like every day. You add like maybe a half or a quarter cup, and give that a few weeks for your body to just adjust. But it's so important to get that extra fiber. We know it helps with maintaining our blood sugars. It's good for heart health. It helps us to feel full longer. So there's a lot of health benefits. Just ride out those couple weeks. I just say take the dog for a walk, maybe after you have your dinner.
Okay, some great advice. All right, so chili is what we usually think of. Well, many of us think of when we're trying to decide what to make with beans. What are some other non-traditional ideas?
Yeah. Okay, I've got a few other ideas, but I just want to highlight what you could do with leftover chili as well. So
okay.
Just a few ideas. I've got teenagers, they're not getting up early, they're having brunch, they're not really having breakfast. So you could put a fried egg on chili, that would make a great meal. You can bake a potato and then put the leftover chili on a baked potato, top it with whatever you have on hand, green onions or cheese, or if you've got sour cream, then you could dress it up. You could also make nachos if you're having a movie night, put the chili on your nachos. That's another great idea. And the last tip is to smear a little bit on your grilled cheese sandwiches or in your quesadillas. It makes it really delicious. So that's 4 different things you can do with your leftover chili.
I'm all for the potato and the chili.
Yes, or home fries as well, right? Just a bowl of home fries and just dump some chili on top and melt some cheese. That's a great meal. That's a great meal. So what else could you do with beans, you were asking? Well, I've got on set here, and I know I've got lots of things here, a bean dip, a white bean dip. So if you could make a smoothie, you can make a bean dip. We all love hummus, and most of us do anyway. So it's not a big stretch to just, instead of using chickpeas, just use maybe beans, like these are white beans. So beans, olive oil, lemon, garlic, jalapeno. I didn't have jalapeno, but I went in my pantry and I found I had these chilies, canned chilies, and I thought that'll work. It's adding some heat. So again, we want to be flexible, use what we have on hand. Blitz that up and use any raw veggies that you have. You could also, in addition to using it as a dip, think of it as a spread. So if you've got wraps, you could use it as a spread for a wrap as well. Really, really delicious.
Oh, you know, I really miss having you here in the studio, Carol, because I got to test all of these wonderful recipes.
Well, I've got, I think you might like this. If any folks at home love to make guacamole, I've got an avocado here on set. Just take a handful of black beans and throw it in with your guacamole. If you love salsa, take some beans, any kind of beans you have, and just mix it in with your salsa. It's just going to add a lot more sort of like filling factor with the protein and the fiber in it. It just makes it more interesting as well. Great way to extend, our food dollar, make it more of a meal. So there's the bean dip is one, the guacamole is another idea. And I've got on set here a smoothie. Can you see the smoothie here?
I can see the smoothie. I would never think of putting beans in a smoothie, Carol.
I'm telling you, you just blitz. So these are white kidney beans that have been added to the ingredients that I have here to make a cranberry orange smoothie. And when you blitz the beans in, trust me, you don't really taste the bean taste. It just gets thicker and fuller and sort of more lush. I've got cranberries frozen, which is great because we're all trying to use frozen fruit more often. The fresh goes so quick in the house. Cup of kidney beans, an orange, a banana. My bananas, seem to have lots of like overripe bananas. They go in the freezer. A banana, cup of milk, half a cup of yogurt, Greek yogurt. And you can get this recipe again at the ontariobeans.on.ca website. But that's, you can't really go wrong with smoothies too much. And yes, it's so delicious. You don't taste the beans. I'll taste it for you.
Okay, taste it for me, because I'm just thinking I would like that right about now. We've got only about a minute and a half left. I wanted to ask you about canned versus dry, and people that are watching their sodium, would perhaps opt for the dry, but you say rinsing the canned takes away a lot of that sodium, yes?
Yes. So if sodium's an issue for you, so if you've got high blood pressure and you really got to keep an eye on it, you could try to find the salt-free. And if you can't find that, yes, you can go with the dry. But if you just buy the regular canned beans and you rinse the salt off and the liquid, that's removing 40% of the sodium. So that's significant. And again, these days, beans are such a good, nutritious staple. That's not the food I would probably be worried about in terms of getting too much salt in my diet, especially when you rinse them off. It's probably more like the ready-to-eat packaged foods, the salty snacks. That's the thing that I would say, maybe if sodium's a really issue for you, you want to find out the places where you're getting most of your salt and not a lot of nutrition and cut back there.
And read the labels. We've only got about 30 seconds left, Carol, but read the labels, right? Because every brand is different.
Yes, and if sodium's an issue, and if it's not really an issue for you, again, just buy the beans. They're the best healthy buy in the grocery store, not to worry about the sodium otherwise.
Okay, Carol Harrison, thank you so much for joining us. Stay with us. When we return, we're talking to All or Nothing Brewhouse.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Illness doesn't have to be a life sentence. Join me each week on Health 180 with Carrie and Fenn. as we talk with doctors and other experts about how to reset your life after an illness. Learn health and wellness tips, patient stories, advice, and solutions from professionals on how to be the best you. Together we are stronger. That's Health 180 with Carrie and Fenn right here on Rogers TV.
Joining us now is Jeff Dornan, All or Nothing Brewhouse in Oshawa. Hi, Jeff, welcome.
Hi, how are you today?
We're good. You are one busy brew house, not making beer these days, but making hand sanitizer.
Yeah, we're excited to do our part to keep the Durham Region healthy.
So tell us, how did this all happen?
When the COVID-19 virus started making its rounds, I guess 4 to 6 weeks ago, us as a business, trying to figure out how we're going to survive and how we can help and be part of the community. We were very fortunate to have a 4,000 liter distillery on site. It came with a brewery that we had purchased a few years ago, and we hadn't had it hooked back up when we moved from their original location of Oakville back to our home turf of Oshawa last year through our expansion. And we said, let's get this distillery hooked back up. Ethanol is the core component of hand sanitizer, and we can make a lot of it. So that's kind of what started the conversation. Was really, there was obviously a need. We had the supply chain and everything else to support that, and so we said let's roll up our sleeves and get it done. So we found our friends in the trades that we use, and everyone kind of dropped everything in over a matter of a couple days. We got our equipment reassembled and hooked up to our steam lines, and got all the raw ingredients on order. We had to fly yeast in from California. You get sugar, large amounts of sugar, and we ordered 6,000 kilograms of table sugar to start. So it was a very kind of monumentous project, but we got through it, and we're now distilling typically 7 days a week, at least 16 hours a day, which has been really, really exciting to be able to do our small part in the Durham region to help out.
So you mentioned that you enlisted a whole bunch of friends to help you reinstall the distillery. Many of us don't realize what a big accomplishment that was. You had to pull in a lot of different trades, you said.
Yeah, we had our friends at Little Electrical. They do all of our electrical work for us, so they had to get the control panel hooked back up. We had a steam fitter in to get all the steam piping hooked up, because that's how the unit is heated. We have to heat the essentially liquor, or a 7 or 8% wash, as we call it. We heat it up, and then it goes through our distillation column. So steam is a critical component for it. Then obviously the raw ingredients. We had to reach out to our bakery suppliers and some of our other suppliers for just raw ingredients, being sugar and different things. Yeast. We can't turn sugar water into alcohol without our little yeast friends. So we had to bring in a special strain of yeast that distillers normally use, something we wouldn't normally carry on site. So we had to air freight that in from California, from a lab there.
But why California? Why California, Jeff? Why did you have to go all the way to California for the yeast?
It's one of the largest yeast suppliers, and so just getting a specialty strain that they've produced for a number of years was really, really critical. It's not something that's carried everywhere normally. Some distillers will use it, but having specific yeast strains can really help the brewing process. So we wanted to reach out to kind of the leaders in the field, a company called White Labs, to really kind of help support us, and they gave us a bunch of expertise on the fastest way to convert the sugar water to the ethanol. We would normally start with grain. As you're making whiskey or gin or anything like that, you would start with distiller's barley or two-row grain, different natural products, not unsimilar to sugar, but a little bit of a different process. So we had to get educated on that and reach out to some folks for some education. So that was another milestone we had to conquer to move forward with the project.
Yeah, real quick learning curve. Was it not?
Yeah, we had to do a lot of learning really fast, a lot of quick phone calls, a lot of after-hour phone calls. It was it was I don't want to say it was a lot of fun, but it was a good challenge, and we wanted to rise to it and really get product out that people needed. The need for hand sanitizer is real, as we obviously see in the media. Personal protective equipment is obviously in short supply. Obviously, supply is getting better as supply chains get started to gear up like us. We can start making more of this stuff at home in Canada and not have to import it from other countries, which is fantastic.
And you say you're running about 16 hours a day. Are you sleeping there some nights?
Yeah, my brother is who's my business partner. He's taken up a cot in our basement to essentially sleep here overnight on the nights that we need to have the capacity to run the still a little longer. So we keep adding to his little cot. He's now got a nice little newer mattress on it and a nice sleeping bag now. So he's slumming it, but not he's not on the cold concrete floor anymore. So we're making a little better for him. Okay,
well, that's a good thing. So 16 hours a day producing hand sanitizer. How much hand sanitizer then are you producing and sending out to the front line?
We've produced roughly about 75,000 cans over the last, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks that we've distributed out to the Durham Region. So quite a staggering amount of units. The product has gone out to anywhere from nursing care folks that go into care for elderly or maybe someone that's come back from surgery, to fire department, police, nurses, dentist office, optometrist offices, right down to the local mechanic shop. Everyone needs this stuff to keep their hands clean if they don't have access to soap and water. And so we're trying to keep as many frontline and essential workers healthy and able to continue to work and take care of us as a society. So it's been amazing.
You mentioned that it's being shipped out in cans, like the cans you would put your beer in?
Yes. We obviously were a brewery first and foremost, and that's our core love here at All or Nothing. But with having a packaging line, the fastest and easiest way for us to package this product to get it out to the end consumer is through our beer cans. And so we've been canning it into 296 ml beer cans. So little shot can sort of thing, and they're kind of a good refill to dump into an existing spray or pump bottle. And it's been really, really well received. People typically have a few kind of bottles hanging around underneath their kitchen sink, and they simply wash them out and dump this in, and they got a brand new bottle of hand sanitizer to use on the road or at home or wherever they may need it.
I was thinking, how difficult would it have been then for you to get the plastic bottles?
Bottles are tricky, and it would be a huge, no pun intended, bottleneck for us to get a good automated line. These equipment takes months or years to get fabricated, depending on the scale. And so for us to tool up to be able to fill them in an automated manner at the speed of which we're able to do with our cans is just not feasible in the near term. So it's been great to be able to kind of jerry-rig our canning line to be able to run this solution through it. So that's been a nice blessing in disguise to allow us to help more folks.
So I have to ask you, what's its name? Do you have a trademark name for this hand sanitizer?
We unfortunately are not able to put our typical craft beer spin on the product. Health Canada has very strict guidelines on how to produce the product. Labeling is obviously a core component of it as well. So it's simply called All or Nothing 65% hand sanitizer. So it gets right to the point and tells you what it is.
Well, there you go. So how did you reach out and then, I guess, grow your clientele for the hand sanitizer?
How to reach out to the folks. We had a lot of people follow up with us on social media, emails, phone calls. We got a little bit of initial media inquiries, and that really kind of snowballed the whole thing and really created a bit of a tsunami where we were receiving hundreds of inquiries a day. That kind of snowed us over for several days, trying to dig out and trying to respond to everyone. We don't like to not respond to people's messages, and so that took a while to get through all that. And now we're kind of we've got a good system going on that now, and so now we're actually trying to reach out to the general public to get more of this product into to folks' hands. A lot of the frontline workers are now starting to get their own supplies through the hospitals and such, and so now we're trying to turn to the general public. You can't go out and buy it at Loblaws or different places on a regular basis, and so we're trying to help be that local source for the Durham region, so they can pick up a little 4-pack at our curbside pickup. They order online, and we have it ready for them. We just quietly launched it yesterday, and we'll be making a formal announcement today, actually, on that, which will be exciting.
Okay, today we are talking to you April 21st, 2020. So we look forward to that official announcement. You've had a lot of very positive feedback on social media. How does that make you feel?
We are very appreciative of the kind words. It's what continues to drive us and allow us to work so many long hours. We just really appreciated all the warm, kind words, and it's from Durham and specifically Oshawa and really just across Canada. It's been fantastic, and we just really love seeing the community come together and people cheering each other on for success and getting through this pandemic together. It's been fantastic. So
once I guess the pandemic is over, whenever that is, will you be in any rush to tear down that distillery, or is it here to stay?
We've joked that we might stay in the craft sanitizer business. I don't think it's a category that existed previously.
Pardon me.
But in all joking aside, we would love to never have to make hand sanitizer again. It was never our goal to be in this space. We love making craft beer, all different innovative flavors, and really having folks into our tap room for a beer or hanging out on our patio. We're just really excited to get back to the way it was before and not have to pursue hand sanitizer going forward. It's not a fun product like our craft beer is, and really bringing community together. Hand sanitizer kind of pushes everyone away, so we want to bring a product back out that brings the community together and brings some fun to a Saturday afternoon.
Well, here's fingers crossed that it won't be that long until you can. Talk about the history of All or Nothing. How long have you been in business, and how did that all come about?
My brother and I started the business in Oshawa on the South End around 6.5 years ago. We started at what was called a contract brewery, so we were brewing our beer at other people's facilities. And we did a kind of a proof of concept for a couple of years. We had a small office, and we hit a crossroad in our business where we either had to kind of build a brewery or acquire a brewery, and we ended up purchasing a brewery or merged with a brewery in Oakville. And that took us from Oshawa out to Oakville for a few years and cleaned that business up and rebuilt it. And our goal and our passion was always to be in the Durham region. Oshawa, we view as home, and we wanted to put strong roots down here for many years to come. And the opportunity came to move into the old Ritson Road beer store that had been closed for about 8 years. And we put together a whole plan, and it ended up securing the building and moving our business back here to Oshawa in the late part of 2018. We essentially took over an abandoned building that had been effectively gutted. Everything was circa 1950 when it was originally built, and so we had to essentially rebuild the building from the ground up. We were under construction for 7 days a week for 6 months straight, cleaning, painting, reassembling, you name it, we had to get it done. And at the end of all of that, last year on June 1st, we had our grand reopening in Oshawa, and we've been thrilled with the support and excitement from the Durham region and Oshawa ever since. And business has been very strong. Yeah, we've been very thankful for everyone's excitement and people wanting to come hang out and support us, and we really appreciate that and look forward to many years of that ahead. Okay. Jeff Dornan from All or Nothing Brewhouse on Ritson in Oshawa. Thanks so much for joining us. Our thanks also to Carol Harrison for joining us. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Stay home, stay safe. Cheers.